Welcome back to the Paint and Grain Podcast. This is James and Tina. This is episode 2, and today we're going to be talking about a couple different things regarding matches, some local matches that we've shot here recently, some mental performance. But first, we want to go over a few comments and questions that we got in our last video. So Tina, if you would.
All right, this is coming from Jen. Hey girl, hey. First question. I want to hear more about your dry fire regimens and how you think about it, how you frame the pay value for putting in the boring time.
So we talk quite a bit about dry fire practice. It's something that we've talked about specifically for an event such as tactical games, but pretty much we use dry fire practice for any shooting that we're doing. Here with us, we've got a couple of different options. We've got our Oculus and our VR headset. It's the Ace trainer, laser trainer. We've got, what do you use? The Mantis dry fire.
Yeah, the Mantis is actually pretty beneficial in my opinion. I've used it a lot, especially for the tactical games, seeing that it's mainly sitting there with your trigger squeeze and you can go as far out as you need to. It is very boring, but that's why we invested in the Oculus and with the Ace, was it the app, whoever runs it.
Yep. So a couple of things that we do. I personally, if I'm on the VR headset, I'm really just playing. I use that for some visual training, but dry fire for me is personally just seeing a clean sight picture and not disturbing that sight picture at the time I press the trigger. As many of you know that I've talked about, getting familiar with your trigger on whatever firearm you're playing with, or whether it's a pistol, rifle, shotgun, doesn't matter. Being familiar with that trigger is going to pay dividends. So what we look at for a dry fire regiment, some people will say, you have to dry fire every day. And I don't think that's true. But if you have the discipline to wake up and you do your 9-to-5 job, go put an hour or two in the gym every day and count your calories and do all that other good stuff, then I think it's safe to say that you can probably be disciplined to put 10, 15 minutes at a time for some trigger control. And what that's going to do is when you're at an event, whether it's an action match, long-range competition, or a TAC Games event, is in those moments where it matters, you also should have the discipline to press your trigger without disturbing your sights. If the first time that you handle your firearm is at one of those events, you're going to have a pretty big struggle to deal with. Now, when we play with something like the VR headset, Tina likes to scare herself with some video games running around the house and other stuff. So there's more fun involved with that type of trainer. And they have various action matches. So in an hour, if we turn on the VR headset, we can run through a series of drills that we don't have to set up. We don't have to reload mags. We don't have to tape targets. We don't have to do anything. So we can get a high volume of rounds and training drills done. That's pretty exciting, and it keeps score for you.
But rewinding to the actual dry fire process, and we're talking about the trigger squeeze a lot, sight alignment, sight picture, etc., etc. Without the fundamentals, you can't really advance to your next spot. All that whole action shooting, running around, it's so much fun, but if you're still struggling to figure out how you're supposed to be aiming, if you're still slapping the trigger, and going back to, I know Jen's a tactical games athlete and she dabbles into USPSA every now and again, but if you don't have the basics down, the dry fire boring process is really good to get you dialed in that way. And this is my reward, the game at the end, because it's all, like you said, you don't have to do anything really besides play along. It does have a red dot on there and you get to choose your own sight. By any means, we're not selling or sponsored by any means. This is just our opinion, our review.
So let's read the rest of her questions. She had a two-parter,
three-parter. There we go. For tactical game type matches, does pistol ammo being match grade matter as much as it does for the rifle ammo? We get that a lot. We hear that and see that a lot.
Yeah, and one of the things we have to clarify is what is match grade ammo? So a lot of the matches that you shoot will have basic ammo requirements as far as caliber, no bimetal ammos, so you can't necessarily go and buy surplus ammunition. It's going to be kind of garbage anyway. It's corrosive to your firearms. But what we look at and what we consider to be match grade as far as USPSA or some of these other action matches, one, it has to go bang every time, and it has to be loaded consistently enough that we can put rounds on target in the same place every time. And when we say the same place, unless you're playing something like high power rifle or pistol, the bullseye pistol matches, the degree of accuracy that we're looking at for the TAC games or USPSA, most of the targets that you're going to be shooting, the gun is capable of holding a higher level of accuracy than the shooters are. So when we talk about match grade ammunition, on the rifle side, the ammo that we look at is we don't want a bulk loaded 55 grainer that someone just dumped powder in and it has a very wide spread of velocities, because that's not going to be consistent. We look for a precision loaded round that's going to have a very low deviation or max spread of your velocities. On the pistol side, being that the pistol is kind of a clunkier item anyway, and you have more margin for error on the human side, match grade ammunition, you're going to spend a whole lot of time and money and effort getting a precision cartridge that you are not going to be able to match the performance of. So what we're thinking of for match grade performance is get a couple different boxes of ammunition, test it out in your firearm. And if you have questions about twist rate and grains and all sorts of other things, that's kind of an in-depth thing. But for the world of TAC games specifically, we don't, like, if someone's selling a match grade ammo, it might look good and everything, but it might be kind of a wasted stuff. So outside of going and buying something kind of like Wolf or Winchester White Box production grade stuff, most of your ammos that are out there are going to be able to hold a degree of accuracy that you need for the sport.
Yeah, agree. And if you're going to just, I wouldn't suggest buying whatever's on sale and changing every single match, because you don't know how that's going to go in your gun, how the accuracy is going to be, and how consistent it's going to go. So if you're bouncing from sale to sale, just trying to save, 25 cents, kind of have to weigh it out. Do you want your consistency? Do you want to do well at your matches, or do you just want to save $1?
Yep. And that kind of is going to bring us into, USPSA specifically, and some of the training programs that we looked at. This is kind of goes in line with Jen's third part of her question. Does training for USPSA or participating in USPSA take away from being a single sport athlete training specifically for something like the tactical games? I've told everybody that I've shot with over the years, and anybody that I've trained, the more shooting you can do, the better. Any type of competition atmosphere that you get involved with is going to help your mental management. It's going to allow you to be more comfortable. But talking specifically about the tactical games, there's about 30 different things that they're testing at each of those events. A big one obviously being fitness. But as you guys know, they might have an action stage at each event. And so if all you're doing is competing in that venue, you're only going to get a limited amount of practice doing that. But if you go to a club match for USPSA, most weekend clubs will have a 5 or 6 stage match just about every weekend. So here in Texas, we can go every Saturday or Sunday, generally speaking, and shoot a different match of some sort. USPSA might only be once a month. So if I'm at one USPSA match getting 6 events in, and I do that 2 or 3 times a month, I'm getting a high volume of training. So I don't have any issue with training multiple sports. Now, you've jumped in with me, obviously, over the last 2 years and gone and shot Uncle Ted's weekend live fire match and USPSA. And
yeah, what I want to touch back on is for the tactical games, because that was Jen's question, for the USPSA type things. So obviously, or maybe not if it's you've never competed with TAC games, it's not all diving in with USPSA related, two-gun related stuff. It's a very small portion of that I guess they just kind of really started putting in all their matches. But if you're not really ready or you're not comfortable to be running around with live ammunition, make that part of your dry fire process, right? Weapons manipulations, dropping your magazines, running on the move, point A to point B. If you live somewhere cold, I'm sorry, but you can do it inside. Obviously, make sure your guns are clear. You can do a lot of that stuff inside, so that way when you get to either whatever event you want to play at, that you are safe and you're not going to get DQ'd and you're not fumbling around to where you're not even comfortable with your firearm being loaded, let alone moving and dropping magazines and reloading and all that fun stuff. So, I kind of lost my train of thought, but.
Yep. So the big topic for today is, here we are at the end of the year. We just shot our last club match of the year. No more majors, obviously. So we're kind of winding down, get a couple of weeks to kind of just couch surf and wrap presents. And but with these matches, knowing that let's say USPSA specifically, they have a very regimented rule set. We know how much, what the division standards are, what gear is needed. And you can show up to basically any USPSA club across the country with that same set of gear and you'll be ready to go. Now, going different types of matches, they're all very similar. A lot of these clubs and sports will have a rule book that's very similar, but being able to know that ahead of time, like when we first started shooting with safe tables, going from the 3-gun world where your vehicle is your workspace or your wagon, and you can basically gun up anywhere as long as you're not pointing at other people, and safe weapons handling is a must.
It makes it very difficult to use the bathroom for the ladies, so usually that's a challenge. You're trying to time it right, and because you have to go to the safe table
half a mile from a porta potty.
Yeah, and you're just like, great, am I going to be back in time for the next one type thing? So that plays a big role in it, part of their rule set that they have.
So generally speaking, going to those different clubs, you've experienced like some places are, I'm not going to say over the top because there's no threshold with safety, but they focus way more on going very specifically by the book of where you can handle your firearms, when you can handle your firearms, the 180 rules, which we don't ever sacrifice that, but they're not going to be as casual going through a match. And, when you come to the line, your rifle has to be definitely muzzle up or muzzle down with a chamber flag in, those types of things. Well, those are good practices to have just about anywhere anyway. But let's talk about the last couple of weeks. The last 3 that we shot was
Dilley.
PCSL down in Dilley. They brought PCSL to Texas.
Yeah.
It's kind of a newer club for us. They've run a couple different matches there.
That was a good icebreaker from coming back from getting beat up with the Tactical Games Nationals. I was hoping for a nice break, but James says, nope, giddy up, we're going again. So it was good to shake off all the woe is me, all the bumps and bruises, and, get back in the swing of things other than stationary targets and, trying to get back to the...
So that match was definitely a fun match because, one, we got to shoot with a couple of the locals that we've shot with before, some friends of ours, very low pressure setting.
A little different stages than last time that we were there.
Didn't have any jerks in the squad or anything like that, which is always nice.
Yeah. Muzzle.
And that was a fun one. PCSL is a new one for us, right?
Yeah.
As that's taken off, so we're gearing up for that one. Similar to other action matches that we've shot, so we didn't have to learn what we're doing, but scoring was one where definitely had to update on what the scoring for that event was.
And we'll put some video clips on the YouTube channel of the different color of targets, or it was brown was pistol, white was rifle, right?
Yeah.
So you'll hear with me with the head cam on, you'll hear me saying white, brown, like steel, what color is the blue? And just trying to remind myself so I don't shoot the wrong target, because you get used to in USPSA and that the white is the no shoot. You don't want to shoot those, and it's just So you'll hear me reminding ourselves to post some in the YouTube channel.
Yeah, and you guys will see that PCSL is a very technical match. They'll have stages that offer a lot of options, but if they want you to go somewhere, they're going to make you go there. So we got some good video on that roundabout stage where
I was going in circles.
We're going in circles, and so as you watch some of those, if you're not familiar with them, just know that some matches, if you look at it for the first time as let's say a novice shooter or new competitor, they might be a little overwhelming. There's a lot to remember there. Tina, you have plenty of experience with memorizing stages. So for every time you've ran by a target and you either don't remember it's there and then you get penalized for it, or you have to go back for it, I know there's the frustration of, oh, how did I forget this? It's a 20-second stage, kind of the embarrassment. But then while you're there kind of licking your wounds, feeling bad for yourself, the next guy does the same thing, just somewhere else on the stage. And that's kind of been your biggest learning curve, is accepting that you're going to go into an event and get crushed, get absolutely dominated. You're going to lose to 12-year-old girls and old fat guys, a guy with one leg, and then dusting yourself up. So talking specifically about that first match back from Nationals at Dilley's, or in Dilley, excuse me.
Yeah, I felt completely like a new shooter. So I know everyone who's super competitive and they have high standards for themselves. You always let yourself down some point or another. So I took that pretty hard, where I wasn't happy with my performance, and I didn't want to shoot. I didn't want to shoot for 2 months. I just didn't want to touch a firearm. I didn't want to look at a firearm. So when he threw me back into the saddle, first stage out, I felt like it was day one all over again of learning how to shoot at like a match. I was really gun shy. I was moving kind of slow. I was really hesitant on pulling triggers. I felt like I just got scolded, or I got in trouble, or I got DQ'd on the last match. So it was really, starting to get the feel of things all over again. The nerves came back, and I haven't been that nervous for a while. So it was a little rough getting back to it.
But you were able to knock the rust off, and
yeah, as the match went on, each stage I was kind of like, okay, here we go again. I got it, and it was a good local match to be able to experience those feelings and mental state, to where it's not a big match where pressure's on. I'm totally convinced there's a thing called shooter's block, like writer's block. We went super hard in October, match after match after match, and traveling out of states, and finally Nationals came along, and I was just grit down, try it again, and I just felt like I was progressively getting worse. And then once Nationals happened, I just wanted a break. But yeah, it was a good match to get back into it and kind of remember how it feels to have fun while you're shooting. And then that led us into I don't remember what the next match.
Temple 3-gun.
Yes, Temple 3-gun.
Temple is a smaller club. We've shot there for a while now, where they had some 2-gun. They do some USPSA 2-gun. They had a big turnout for it originally.
I think they just started night matches too.
Yeah, they do a couple different things there, but this one, whether it was weather related, in South Texas, when the forecast is 58 degrees, everybody has to go cut down trees and make a fire, and they freak out about this beautiful South Texas weather. So we showed up and there were 7 people there.
But we are guilty too of not really wanting to be in mud pits while it's raining. Yeah,
there's some ranges where if there's moisture on the horizon, we're not going.
I don't like it.
But we showed up, and
it was
several new guys.
Yeah, several new. It was a smaller match. I think it's because they did a night match the night prior, so a lot of those guys didn't show up for the next day. So it's kind of slow getting together. Everyone was trying to help set up, because if there's not a lot of people, if the club's tiny, like you end up helping out, right? Several new people, and it was nice to see when people I'm no longer the new person, so just watching them grow, or they're very confident. They're asking us questions, and
Good shooters, had decent weapons handling,
Yeah,
but little things of being preloaded for a stage. Like we had one stage with shotgun, scoring, running the tablet. So they're also learning the ways, and they look over and they're like, Tina, show us the way.
Yeah, you take for granted though with experience on your squad, even though it's just a local match of, having the newer shooters there, a handful of them, it made it kind of hard to try to focus on what's coming up next for you, because we're not on top of trying to run the tablet. He's got the timer, we're running around trying to paste, and then no one's there's still it was really windy, so the targets kept coming down. But it was a lot going on, trying to get the other shooters' weapons cleared, and they just didn't know the flow of it, so it took a little extra and slowed us down just a little bit, but it wasn't bad. It was just good to see them out there, and luckily it was a smaller match, so they actually got a lot of help, and that would help them return instead of having a bad experience, not just to the club, but to other events that they can experience with.
And that one for us was probably one of those things where we could have slept in and missed that match, and been like, okay, we didn't have a.
I'm really grouchy in the mornings.
2 hour,
so it's
2 hour drive to the range and then 2 hours back.
Yeah,
but we went and got pizza and Phillies.
And Buc-ee's is right next door.
Yeah.
Buc-ee's.
So, coming from something like that, where we see that definitely match or club participation is a big one, right? Mm-hmm. Some of you may be new to the action shooting sports, and you go online or you figure out, you finally get into a club, you go for the first time, and you have some crotchety old bastard that just is grouchy, over the top. And I'll give those guys a little bit of credit, because they've seen all the squirrels come in, and they're they don't want to get shot, so they're over the top about controlling the safety aspect. Hey, don't you know the rules? No, of course we don't know the rules. We're new. So what I can tell you is, if you go somewhere and the club participation, some of the competitors that are going to be there are also new. They don't know what's going on. It's the blind leading the blind. So, don't be afraid to reach out and ask questions to those people. And if they don't know, hopefully they'll tell you. But even if they've been there one time before you, they'll have some better understanding of what's going on than you. And what I use as a gauge of where I want to shoot is, first and foremost, are they putting together a quality match? That's what we look for. So the clubs that we shoot, River City and Syntex, and there's a couple others that always put on a very high quality match. So we want to go get premium practice there. Mm-hmm. But outside of that, the next thing I look for is how willing and able are the other competitors or club members to help you. If I see that you're struggling, if I give you information, I'm not worried about you beating me. I want you to compete safely, and I want you to come back.
I don't want to say, make yourself approachable. Don't, I guess, sit in the corner looking grouchy, or everybody has a bad run, everybody pouts. Our rule is you get 2 minutes. Usually I go a little longer and kind of wipe my tears, but just make yourself approachable, so that way other people know that you actually are willing to take in their advice and, be a sponge. That's the best thing that you can possibly do, and to learn as quickly as you want to, really. We were talking earlier about some people who aren't intimidated and are not afraid to show up by themselves. Like, even to this day, I think we said last time that I kind of get a little intimidated by some of the people that I'm seeing at these matches, but kudos to those who show up by themselves to get to these events and are willing to say, hey, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm here, right? And the only thing that everyone really asks of you is to be safe with your firearms. And that's, the more willing you're, to accept these advices and critiques, it's going to help you in the long run.
When I started shooting, I got into the clubs by myself. I had a couple of buddies that I'd occasionally go with, but my shooting friends have definitely changed over the years. Like the buddies that I went to the range with the first time, they're off doing other things. They didn't catch the fever for shooting. Mm-hmm. And now I've got a bunch of you guys all over the country that I would never have met otherwise. And I don't have to call them and say, hey, it's game day, come jump in the truck and let's go. They're racing me to the match, or, hey, did you sign up? I saw you sign up. I got jumped in the squad. So don't be afraid to jump in. But that's a good one for you, where you're kind of doing that same thing. You've gone to several club matches solo when I'm working or out of town for other events. Mm-hmm. You've made quite a network of your lady friends that are also doing that same thing, and that's kind of a unique icebreaker to say, oh my God, I was so scared to talk to you too.
Right. And then it turns out the people that you didn't know were that nice or super nice, and you make new friends, and then you start coordinating for the next match, with each other. And squad, you snoop on who's on what squad, and then you jump on their squad, and it works out.
Some of you I won't squad with. No, I'm just kidding. But, it's, you will see at the club match, things are a little bit easier to deal with, so it doesn't matter who you shoot with as much. But at the big boy matches, we have a very particular crew that we're traveling, so travel coordination is a big part of it for schedules. If I'm going across the country for a major match, I want to see all my friends. Mm. So I want to shoot with my friends.
Sometimes that's the only time you get to see your friends, because everyone's from different locations if they're not here in Texas. So
they got family stuff that they have to do, or jobs, or
people actually work.
And where did we finish out? We finished out
Syntex
at
Reveille Peak.
So
RPR.
We've been shooting all year. They have a monthly series, so they do a point series in division. You kind of changed divisions through the year. You got a couple of scores in 2-gun, but then finally got your shotgun.
Yes. Sometimes I miss 3-gun, and then I got a bougie shotgun that I absolutely love. It's purple and gold. Dissident Arms, drop your name. But the 2-gun and 3-gun, two different worlds, a lot more thinking. And now that we finally fixed my optic, I actually love it. Yesterday went really, really well for me, and I had a lot more fun. I forgot what that felt like. We do all these local matches, and it's obviously, he always says it's premium practice, and which it is. Now I'm more focused on not trying to I'm always trying to do the best I can, but I want the training wheels off, like coachable type stuff, our long range. I didn't want them calling corrections for me. I needed to figure it out on my own, because these big boy matches, if there's no coaching, there's no coaching. So they won't give you those corrections. And just trying to remember my stage plan the best I can. So that's the new goal for right now. And with Syntex, the gun club over at RPR, they always put on a really good match, and usually in preparation for the big boy matches. And our next one's in January in Florida.
Yep, Florida multi-gun. Mm-hmm. So going back to Dilly and Syntex had it. Spinners.
Oh, so spinners.
There were 2 stages that we shot.
With both options.
So Dilly, it was, if you shot the spinner with rifle, you didn't have to shoot it with pistol. But if you got both, you got a bonus. So, of course, I'm going to do it. You did it. It was a kind of a tight time crunch for the stage. It was a bigger stage. I think they had a 120-second time cap.
Yeah, it was quick. You had to be moving.
And that was a good one for you, because we knew that you could get the spinner. Like, you've shot a spinner a bunch. You could shoot it with rifle. You could shoot it with pistol. You wanted to make a go at both.
Yeah, I knew it was going to be tight for me, the time. Like, I knew you would get it. And did you go before me or after me? After
you.
Yeah. So I got out of sequence for the rifle spinner. So I stopped it, and then I had to start again. So I lost a lot of time there. So I boogied all the way to the pistol portion, because I haven't shot a pistol spinner in a while, like before that. And I wanted the practice on it. So I was determined to get up there, and I was perfectly okay with time capping on that. So I finished the array that needed to be, so I didn't get those penalties too. Ran back to the pistol spinner, and of course I did time cap on it, but I just wanted to try to get there just to get that practice in.
And then Syntex, we had it, you shot it rifle and pistol required. Pistol. And again, got it. It was a little bit of a sluggish spinner this time, so it was a little more difficult. But that brings up a very good point, because, you know, we've seen it at multiple events where, let's say somebody's not as proficient with a spinner. I think the first time that you had to weigh the moments of, do I salvage my match and my standing in the match, or do I put the practice in where I'm here on the clock and get the stage done? So I think it was at TSA for one of their monthly matches had a pistol spinner.
Yeah, it was USPSA and Carmen, and I don't remember who else was there. We're trying
another female shooter that you met, but same thing. You went through the stage. You could have, you know, at a certain point, you where you are struggling and you're kind of getting the timing down for it. You could have cut your losses and salvaged the penalties, but instead you said, no matter what, even if I time cap, I'm going to go all the way to the end practicing this, because this is premium practice.
Yeah, because the spinners, they have, I guess not every range can have a spinner because the way it launches the rounds. So when they do have something like that and you're struggling and it's just a local practice match, figure it out on the clock, because that way you're starting to figure out the experience of it. Because that first time I did a pistol spinner, I think it was like 2 times, I was denied. I was kept screwing that up, and then I was like, I am going to sit here and figure it out. I don't care. It's just a local match. It's not my Super Bowl one.
And who cares how you do it, the club match? It's kind of nice, you know. I mean, we could go back and I could show you all the times I've won a club match or whatever, but that doesn't mean anything. Being able to go through and say, hey, I've put the practice in at these club matches. I've felt the pressure of, you know, if you're just practicing, you're not going to be tuned up, and you have no threat of penalty there. I messed up. Let me do it again. At a club match, you get 1 run at it. At a major match, you only get 1 run at it.
Yeah.
So being able to put the pressure of the event aside, and we've seen it at just about every match we've gone to, whether it's a major match, club match, somebody, somewhere, you know, we talk about, am I going to spend 60 seconds shooting a target that's only worth a 10-second miss? Probably not at a major match. At a club match, okay, if I need to figure out where I'm shooting or how to shoot this and how to negotiate this target, yeah, it's worth doing it there. So that's one of the benefits of shooting different club matches, is you're going to see stuff that, you know.
Some matches have more advanced skills than they set things up really well. River City, and I think
drop turners, spinners, swingers.
Yeah. And then yesterday we saw the double Texas Star at Centex at Reveille Peak.
And a Helix on
the Helix. And yesterday my pistol was really off yesterday. It was absolute doo-doo. So the last run we had was shooter's choice. We could do shotgun for the last section of steel, which was like just it was 9 steel targets on the left, and then it had the double Texas Star, a couple more poppers, and then the double Helix. And I chose, since
it was like 34 total pieces of steel.
Yeah, so I ran a little bit of the shotgun until that went dry, and then chose to use my pistol for the Helix just to get that time underneath there, because I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do.
It's probably the harder target there, the small plates on the Helix.
It was, and I was watching, the poppers were set kind of heavy, so I was like, oof, I don't actually hit these properly. It's going to take me a minute. So I did get a little nervous for that one, but I closed it out like I was supposed to, so that felt good. Felt good leaving. That was the last stage of the day, so I have a little bit more confidence under my belt again, just because it always seems one firearm is off than the other. They're never, for me at least, they're never all good. It's either one thing is absolute doo-doo, but the other 2 are great. So it's just,
If it was easy, it wouldn't be fun, right?
Yeah. The good thing is I didn't have to lift anything heavy besides my bag, my gun bag.
So we're waiting for the points to update for the series. I'm pretty positive I won the Open Division by a huge chunk there, but you were down a couple of matches, obviously. But,
A lot.
and you should have a decent finish in there.
Yeah.
So maybe the schedule will work out where next year we can go to all the matches and definitely shoot single division all next year. But what do we want to talk about next? So definitely looking at some of our gear and stuff. I know we're getting specific questions about stuff. I think what we want to do is run down and talk about our specific equipment that we use for,
Right.
let's say, each of the three sports. We got 3-gun, so all the action shooting kind of combined. Some things change event to event there, and then tank games is a little different, which,
Yeah.
I mean, it's same equipment, just
Just
no
a little-
compensators.
A little different. Same, but a little. Same, but a little different.
Yeah.
So that'll be our next discussion.
And as always, if you guys have questions about something specific, let us know. We hope we can answer anything for you.
Yeah, we had a lot of good comments and questions. And if you're messaging us in our direct messages on our personal platforms, that's fine too. But it'll help everybody else see in the comment section, whether on the YouTube channel, and we are on Spotify now as well.
Big time.
Yeah, and Apple Music. So just put whatever questions you have or comments, and we'll try and address those on the next podcast. And we appreciate you guys and your support. It's pretty cool to see.
We'll see you guys on the range.
Bye.